Hey everyone, this is Christian again with Scent, and I get the privilege of interviewing Michele of Fireflight and Altira. And I'm so excited to be able to chat with you today, Don. Don, can you tell us your testimony, how you came to know Jesus?
Yes. Hi everybody. I'm Michele, and I was not raised going to church. My family did not go to church, and I really spent a lot of my young life kind of afraid of church because I associated it with like a lot of trauma from my childhood. When I was young, my brother died. My little brother died, and so like we went to church for that for the service, and it was like a church full of with a big organ and everything like that, and everything was just a really kind of a somber feeling, and I think that sort of stuck inside me with like a like a hands-off kind of feeling towards church. And so I really tried to avoid church like the plague. And then when I was in middle school, my dad got a job in another town, like an hour away, but we couldn't afford to move yet. So it was right as I was finishing middle school and I was starting in high school. But they didn't want me to start high school in the town where we were living because they knew we were going to try to move as soon as we could to the other town. So every day, me and my dad would wake up and get my brother and my sister. They were little toddlers. Get them ready, throw them in the car like at 5 a.m. when it was still dark outside, and we would drive an hour to the other town where my dad was working. And then we would take my brother and sister to a childcare place, and then I would go sit in front of the high school in the dark until the doors would open, and then I would go sit inside
Wow.
the high school until my homeroom opened. So, and then after school, I would get picked up by one of my dad's coworkers and taken to our little downtown and left at the library, and I would do my homework, and then I would walk around downtown until like 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night when my dad would get off work, come pick me up. We'd go get my brother and my sister, and then we'd drive an hour home. And so we did this for like an entire year. And it was a very lonely time for me because we already kind of we lived in the swamp. And so I didn't have any neighbors to hang out with, and all the kids that I went to school with lived an hour away, and all the kids that I used to know from my old schools, they had a different school now. Their life was going on without me, and so I felt very lonely. And I had decided that I did believe in God. I felt like there was really no risk because I thought, I feel like I think that idea of God has done a lot of good things. And so I think I believe in God. And at that time, I prayed and I said, God, if you will just move me to the town where I go to school, if I can live in a neighborhood and have friends, then I will go to church. And so it took about a year, but after about a year, my family finally got to move to the little town where my dad worked. And the first week of school, this is my sophomore year of high school, a guy at my lunch table said, "Hey, Dawn, you should come with me to church on Sunday. We have Sunday night with our youth group." And I was like, "No, thanks." And then, like that night, I was at home, kind of staring up the ceiling, and I remembered my promise. And there I was, living in a neighborhood with walking distance to my school and everything. And so I was like, man, I gotta go. So I said, okay, I do want to come. And so I went, and I was part of a small group with like one of the moms of one of the girls ran the small group, and we went through a book and with other girls my age. And so I really liked feeling accepted there and welcome there. So I started going back to youth group, and I started going to the youth group on Wednesdays. And the more I was there, everyone was just loving on me, and I was learning more about Jesus. And I decided that I wanted to be more like Jesus, and I wanted to dedicate my life to Jesus. So I did, and then I became super active in the youth group and everything, and joined. Uh, I always, I guess, like go big or go home for me. So like I went super gung ho. If the doors were open at the church, I was there, and so I was 90 to nothing. And then as I was graduating from high school, some of the kids at my church were older kids, and they came to a graduation service at my church that we had for the graduating seniors because they had siblings in my grade. And I was singing there for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. We put on a service for the graduating seniors, and they saw me sing there, and they came up to me afterwards, and I had seen them around one about them. One of them was an older sibling of one of my close friends. And they said, "Hey, we're starting a band. Do you want to be in our band?" And I was like, "Is it a Christian band?" They always tease me about this. They're like, "Yes." And I was like, "Okay, yes, then I will do that." And so we all started practicing together, and that was Fireflight. And so
Wow.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey with me because of the trauma in my childhood. I was a real people pleaser, and for me, I pushed so hard. I kind of became really legalistic in my faith. And I pushed so hard into that, that it did result in a lot of spiritual abuse and stuff like that. But at the same time, I just sought God so hard. Like that was my number one goal. And in doing that, I met the real God that wasn't the all of the legalism and everything that was piled on me. And because of that, like that has really been the saving force of my life, is God's influence and God's touch on my heart, and his leading in my life.
That is awesome. So you started off Fireflight, that was 99 and around there.
2000, we formed like right at the beginning of 2000.
That's awesome. And you released a number of albums, had a number of hit songs, like
Yeah.
Unbreakable and Who We Are. Great songs. Were you involved in a lot of the songwriting?
Yes, yes. I was one of we wrote the songs together, and I was one of the main songwriters. Yep.
Yeah. What was the song that to this day still moves you that you got to be a part of writing?
Um, song Songwriting is funny. Like so much of it kind of all of them feel like your children. So it's like
Yeah.
trying to pick your favorite child. But every once in a while, I go back and I listen to stuff, and I'm just like, dang. And I guess I think one that comes to mind is What I've Overcome,
Mhm.
because we were making some short form video content. We were getting ready to launch Altira stuff, and we did some throwbacks, to singing some old Fireflight songs. And it had been about 5 years since I had done any touring, with Fireflight or performing at all. And so we're like, okay, we're gonna do What I've Overcome. Let's get into it, whatever. And so we're singing it, and I was with a friend of mine named Grace Graber, who was helping me because she's an independent artist who's incredible. And so she's been independent her whole life. And like, as I'm coming back into this as an independent artist. So she was like helping me like figure out how to be an independent artist. And so she was there, and we got done recording it the first time. And she goes, Ton, I forgot that was you who sings that song. I was like, I kind of did too, because like it got to the bridge and I was singing it, and I was like, wow. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this song is like really touching me right now, the words. And it was so crazy because I think we're like that as humans. It's like whatever's right in front of our face, that's what we're thinking about. All of our problems that we have right now, we forget everything that's happened in the past, except for the bad things. And I was like, dang, I was like, you know what? This song, it still really hits, it really it's like ministering to me right now. And it's just wild how God does that. Like I just truly believe that everything good that's come out of my life has been God's orchestration. And when God's involved, it's timeless. And it's a pretty amazing thing and really humbling thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. In actually a few months from now in December, we have Grace Graber coming out
Awesome.
to lead a concert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Heck yeah.
she's amazing, and
Yes. She
um,
has a podcast now. Everybody check out Grace Grabber.
yes, definitely. And I think what I appreciate about her is she's so open about her past and
Yes.
dealing with mental health. And one of the things she accredits is people like yourself and Jason Dunn and others that spoke into her life. So, um, what is that interaction like for you, being the artist with a fan who's struggling?
Well, one thing about our music through Fireflight and now through Altira, like our music by and large is about the struggles that God has brought us through, the struggles that we see our friends and family and even fans going through. And there's a certain intensity to the music. And because of that, a lot of times we found people reaching out to us talking about, what they were going through and the things that they were facing. And it's been a common theme, even back since we started, and it was MySpace. And so for the first, I don't know how many years, for the majority of her career, I was the one answering the MySpace messages, the Facebook messages, and all that. We eventually got to a point where there were so many messages that I couldn't do it anymore. But through those times, countless people came and brought their story, and to me, I really like talking to people about their story because I have a story too. Like, I have my life. I used to joke that if one more bad thing happens to me, this is not going to be a fun story anymore. It's just going to be like a depressing movie that nobody wants to watch. and I used to say, because of that, I know nothing more bad is going to happen to me. But that has not been the case, as a matter of fact. And so now I've started to realize that my life is a dark comedy, and learning to laugh about the things that I've gone through and I'm still going through all the time. And so when I talk to people about our music, fans are coming, I'm just like, yeah, me too. Really? Oh, this is what happened. That's how I feel when I talk to people, because like we're all literally in the same boat. We've all got different stories, different struggles, but we're all struggling through this same life together. And the thing about that is there's nothing we can do to go back in time and fix that stuff. But what we can do is we can just be there for each other, you know, and for a long time in my life, when someone would tell me what was going on in their life, a problem or whatever, I would be like, okay, well, let me tell you, I thought they wanted me to fix it. And then I realized, looking back, that's not what anybody wants. Because, and truly, we do not have control. We really don't have much control in this life at all. We work every day to build our own self-control, to control ourselves, our own actions, but we can't stop life from lifing. And but what we can do is we can be there for each other, and we can not give up on each other. A lot of people see someone who has a lot of problems and they're like, oh, I need to protect my peace. And they just throw them away. And that's not how I've wanted to live my life. And as a result, God has blessed me so much with knowing people. And like, I've been in 12-step rooms, where everyone's going around and talking about their stories, and their story didn't do anything for me. Like, their life can't change my life. But when I hear their story, I don't feel alone anymore. And when I don't feel alone anymore, I've got the strength to keep going. And so it's just as simple as listening, and not trying to fix their problems, but just being, a harbor in the storm, so that once you feel like people see you and they know what you're going through and they understand, you feel stronger to stand up within the storm.
Which I always love the verse, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And at the end of it says, He'll make your path straight. What it doesn't say is that He'll make your path smooth. There's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be those pitfalls. But you know where you're going because you're following the Lord.
Yeah. And the thing about a straight path is you're still moving forward.
Yes, very much so. Which leads to a little more funnier situation. Not funny at the start. You had a recent accident.
Yes.
And broke a leg.
In my series of unfortunate events, I managed to break my foot. It was at the end of we had just gotten off the road with 7 Day Slumber. And thankfully the timing was thus, because otherwise I don't know what I would have done if I had that broken foot right then. And I was literally just walking out my back door. They say there's nothing so dangerous as stepping out your front door. It is very true. And I missed the step, and I rolled my ankle so hard. And I have always rolled my ankle my whole life. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I don't know where my body is in space. But typically I roll my ankle and then I get freaked out. I hop up 5 minutes and it's pretty much okay. No problem. It's like it can take a lick and it keep on ticking. But this time it hurt more than ever before. And 5 minutes later, it was still really hurting. And when I started looking at it, I realized there was a big lump on the side of my foot that's not normally there. Oh. It doesn't match the other side. And I was like, this can't be good. So I had to make a phone call and be like, hi, can you take me to the doctor? I think I have a problem. And I was supposed to be leaving the next morning for a big trip that someone had blessed me with. My family members had blessed me with. And I was looking forward to so much. And it all just became such a mess. And but thankfully, even though I had broken my foot and I needed to have surgery, I was able to get into the doctors that I needed to. I still left the next day for my trip. And it was just a different trip in a wheelchair or on a scooter, but at least I got to go. And as soon as I got back, I had surgery. But then I found myself in a weird situation because I couldn't go back to work until I could walk, and not just walk, but walk quickly. And so suddenly, because the job that I do when I'm, my day job when I'm not touring, in this economy. And so I was not only, dealing with a broken foot and dealing with big medical bills, even though I have insurance, I had to pay so much money just to I had to pay a down payment to even get the surgery. And then I had all these other medical bills coming in, and now I could no longer work and have an income. So it was a really stressful time. And one of the harder things that I've gone through, because for me, when I deal with anxiety and I have ADHD, and the ways that I have coped my whole life with these pressures is just staying busy, staying productive, trying to make sure everyone's happy with me, people pleasing, all that kind of stuff. And I've learned so much in the last few years, and I've grown so much. And I thought, man, I'm really doing so good about all these troubles I have. And boy, I tell you what, you just give it 1 minute to take away all the things that all your things that you're still doing to cope, and it'll show you exactly where you are. And it was only about 3 days after my surgery where I found myself in a panic attack that lasted for about 3 days. And it was awful. It's a singular experience in my life, and I've been through a lot of stuff. And I was like, dang, I guess I'm not doing as good as I thought I was. But you know what? Thankfully, I had friends who came around me. My friend came and took my kids for my youngest daughter, for a night, so that, because I was already stuck on the couch. And my kids kind of handled it really differently. My son is 11, and he's a real, he's my boy. He is so busy all the time, and he's usually pretty kind of stuck in his own head. He has some sensory issues, so he's really busy focusing on all his things, But when I broke my foot, it's like he was like, oh, I see you. And he suddenly was ready to help me, and he was doing so much. He'd be like, Mom, don't do that. Let me do that for you. And I was like, okay. It was like I turned over a new leaf. But my little girl, Lavender, she's 6, and she did not know how to handle Mom not being,
Yeah.
super and doing everything all the time. She couldn't handle it. And she did the opposite. She was like, she wanted more help for everything, and she didn't want to accept that I was limited, So it was a weird position to be in. And but my friend took her for the night, one of the nights that I was melting down. And I just really had to lean in prayer and meditation and everything just to get through it. And it was really hard because it was all my triggers were at once. I couldn't be a high achiever. I couldn't know how I was going to pay my bills. Mm-hmm. I couldn't even just stay busy. I'm the kind of person who barely even sits down during the day. I just go boop, 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 like a little bumblebee, and it keeps my little voices quiet, I guess. But man, when you're stuck, still, those voices get loud. So yeah, it was awful. I hated it.
So did it cause some songwriting to happen?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of things came out of it. Yeah, we always joke that songwriting years are a menace. Like in Fireflight, if we knew we were going to be going into the studio and recording a new album that coming up, we'd be terrified because something's going to happen. Something always happens on songwriting years. And here we are, because me and the girls in Altira, we are writing songs right now. And I tell you what, it keeps happening. But it's I guess it's the crucible,
So when do you head to the studio?
Well, we've been in and out of the studio for the last couple of months. We're going back next week.
Okay.
No, wait, not this coming week, but the week after that. Yep. We've got a photo shoot before that. Then we're going back to the studio. And we're so excited. We're working with Josiah. And it's
Josiah
going
Queen?
so great. Honestly,
Josiah Queen?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No way. That's awesome.
Is it Josiah Queen? No, sorry, Josiah Prince.
Oh, Josiah
Royalty,
Prince.
but a different one. He's in Disciple. He's the producer of of Altira's music so far, and the last Fireflight album, and the singles leading up to that album.
Well, he's just as cool. Disciple's amazing.
Yeah, they are. So, yeah.
Is he going to do some background vocals?
Huh? I haven't thought about it. He could.
He's got a great voice. I would suggest have him throw in once.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna put that in my mind.
So, how many songs do you think about doing for this first album?
Well, right now we've got the EP, and so we're kind of dreaming up more and deciding where it's gonna land. But we definitely are thinking that we're going to make a whole album. So
Nice.
let's see how it lands, how it all comes out. You write and you write and you write, and then you knock some off the list, because you're like, not as good, not as good. These are the good ones. So we'll just see where we land. We've already written 2 new ones, almost 2.5 new ones so far.
Okay, that's
Mm-hmm.
great. And then you're planning a tour later
Yeah, we're
on?
trying to figure out touring. We've been trying to figure out fall touring for a while now, and we've got a couple shows coming up in September so far, and we're just kind of getting the ball rolling with some new strategies for booking. So we're not sure what's coming down the pike, but we're really excited, and we just it's really, for a while I just thought I would never tour again. Honestly, I spent a lot of time, especially following the pandemic, just feeling really angry inside, like everything I was seeing in the world and all the messages I was seeing spread around. And then it kind of come to the end of that time where I felt like God was telling me, it's like, okay, well, I think you've been angry long enough. Do you think it's time for you to do something about it? And I was just like, no. uh, but I knew that wasn't the right answer. And so I felt like God was telling me that not only making more music, but stepping back out and touring again, which was terrifying because I spent so many years of my life kind of living by committee and being on tour. You go where the bus goes. Where are we going to go next? If we don't have to be somewhere, well, we're going to vote on it. And then when you do that for so many years, you kind of get home and you just want to stay on your couch and you want to get yourself in your car and drive yourself where you want to go. And so I couldn't imagine just going out into that world again. But I felt like that's what God was telling me I needed to do. So, and I am a single mom and I have 2 kids. And so I was like, I've got these young children. I could never even do this. Right. So, but then I felt like God was telling me to do it. So I just kept praying about it. And I felt like then I was like, I guess I could do festivals because it's like a long weekend, right? If I go and do festivals and then come back home, that's not too rough. So I committed to doing that and we worked on getting a booking agent. And then like only a couple weeks later, I was texting with Lori Rojas, from the wife, Joseph Rojas's wife from 7 Day Slumber. And we were talking about some business stuff because they released their record label, Rockfest Records, released my independent worship album back in 2018. And we were just talking about some business things. And she's like, hey, Joseph was wondering, since you got this new music, do you, because they knew I was working on new music, what would you think about going on a tour with us early next year? And I was like, well, how long? Like, we're thinking like 2 weeks. And I was like, 2 weeks. That's not super long, right? When are you thinking about doing it? And they're like, oh, we're thinking about March. And I was like, oh, March? You mean like when my first single comes out? I was like, okay, God, I see. Obviously, this is what I'm supposed to do. So just like in a couple of weeks, it went from I can go do some long weekends to now we're booking a tour with 7 Day Slumber. And all during that time, at the same time, God is talking to me about starting the band and getting everything pulled together. And we did it. I mean, it just like in a matter of a month. And the next thing we knew, we were out on tour. And my girls had never toured full time before and had never toured on a bus, Gina and Ash. And so I was like, I don't know, guys, I hope you like it. So, because we're climbing on the 7 Day Slumber bus and going on tour. And they were incredible. They are by and far the most talented musicians, some of the most talented musicians I've ever worked with. And also their spirit. They have the most incredible spirit. And there's so many things that are not ideal when you're touring and you're living on a bus with like 10 other people. And, there was even a big bulldog on the bus that would sometimes get in Gina's bed. I mean, so many things that most people would be like, check, please, and they're like, this is great. And I'm like, okay. And it was awesome. One of the funnest times of my life because we would just get off the bus, grab our suitcases, go find some little closet to be our girls' dressing room. And then we would just like, slumber party it up all day long and do our show. And it was amazing. And everybody is so encouraging and we just build each other up and look out for each other. And it's just been such a God thing. And I'm so thankful because God knew what I needed before I did. And even though it was something that I didn't have faith for, just stepping out and just, doing it before I had the faith, he's just come through time and time again.
Well, and plus, I mean, when you're going on tour of 7 Day Slumber, you're going on tour with Madeline Rose, so it's basically one big family caravan.
It absolutely is. It is a family. It is a family affair on that bus, and they were wonderful hosts. And it was at first we were like, because I had never met Madeline Rose before because it had been a long time since I toured with 7 Day Slumber. I've definitely never toured with them on their bus. Whenever we toured with them so many times, so they were already kind of like family. But I never toured like in their house, like that bus was their house. So it was like, because here we are, we're coming, we're not literally blood like they all are all blood, and we're going to go live in their house with them, and it was a blast. Like I had to put myself to bed, because I got to sing the next day, and I'm 44 years old. But my girls, they're like, let's go to Waffle House at 2 a.m. And I remember doing all that when I was in my mid 20s, but I can't do that anymore. But they were having the time of their lives, and everyone was so kind, and now everyone's besties.
That's awesome. Do you think maybe going on tour with them again?
Absolutely. Yes. They keep hinting at it. Like maybe next year we're like, let's do it. Just tell us the dates. Let's do it.
That's awesome. Well, I look forward to that to see you do your new music. But before we end this interview, I'd like to end with what is your favorite Bible verse?
Yes. My favorite Bible verse is First Corinthians 1, 3 through 4. And it talks about how when we go through trials and tribulations, we are so blessed because God comforts us through our trials and tribulations. But more than that, we can take that comfort that God has given us in our trials and tribulations to love others with. And to me, that is by and large the point of my life. And I think that that's my greatest calling, is that even though my life has had a lot of ups and downs, I've faced, death in the family. I faced my dad, my mom had a heart attack at 45. My dad almost died from a construction accident. My new brother, my surviving brother, he had brain cancer at 15.
Mm,
I've been in an abusive relationship I was in an abusive relationship for 8 years. I've just been through a lot in my life. But at the end of the day, it's those experiences that have taught me the most of anything else. And what it's really taught me is that I'm not better than anybody else. And I keep trying to also learn that nobody's better than me. and and we're all just here in this journey together. And it's the love and the support that we can give to each other that is going to be the most godly behavior that we can have. And it is those lessons, that have made all the difference in my life. And because of that, I can look back and be thankful for the things that I have survived, as opposed to looking at them like they've ruined my life. And I can look at other people and see that they're not broken.
that's awesome. If you're listening to this and you want to contact either me or her, there's going to be contacts down below. But I would suggest, if you can, buy the music, buy this clothing, support the music,
Thank
and
you.
when a concert comes,
Yes.
go see them. So thank you, Don, for being a part of this. God bless you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you.